This is every single fight to make after UFC Fight Night Paris Gane versus Spivac. I have all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now, and you may notice there is an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I have hidden around the perimeter of the screen. I'll slowly reveal those opponents one by one as the video goes on and place them where they belong on the screen. Let's start straight away with the main event. Ciryl Gane. This is an interesting one because he sounds like he doesn't want Tom Aspinall. I just saw a couple headlines about him saying stuff like, I'm not interested in looking down the rankings to fight Tom Aspinall. I'm looking up the rankings towards the belt. And you know what I feel like saying to Ciryl Gane right now? You had two chances. You had two chances. You're done. Like, you can't keep getting infinite title shots after winning one fight in the meantime in front of your home crowd against favourable matchups. I know that some people pick Spivac to win, but that was a favourable matchup for Ciryl Gane. I don't understand how he can have that mindset. You've got to put together a resume right now. I need a win streak from Gane before I see him back in a title fight. Come on. That should be the bare minimum here. Either way, I don't think they're going to do him versus Aspinall. I reckon they're going to do him versus the winner of Almeida versus Blades, and I'll tell you why. Pavlovich is the backup for November against John Jones. I think they're going to see John Jones retire in the octagon, especially after John Jones. I wasn't sure before. Maybe John Jones would continue. Maybe he would take on a Pavlovich or an up-and-comer. Who knows? I think that John Jones is 100% going to retire after I saw that headline about him saying he's not going to stick around for these other guys. They're not big names. He's only going to stick around for Stipe. I reckon he beats Stipe Miocic, retires in the UFC. Of course, Stipe could win and all of a sudden we have to do a rematch, and I don't think that's going to happen though. I reckon John Jones beats Stipe, retires in the octagon, drops his belt, says I'm the GOAT of the sport, even though I failed multiple drug tests. Just a coincidence that he's also the best in the world while doing that. But yeah, he's going to call himself the GOAT, retire from the sport, and then they're going to need a title fight. And I reckon that title fight will take place in March between Pavlovich and Aspinall for the vacant title. I think Ciryl Gane's got to do a bit more. I know Aspinall lost, but he lost by fluke injury to Curtis Blades. And now him versus Pavlovich, I think, and he just called out Pavlovich. I ain't seeing no one else calling out Pavlovich. I just saw Tom Aspinall, who wasn't wanting to fight him before, now say, I'll take on the big Russian guy, Sergey Pavlovich, that nobody wants. I think you make that fight for the vacant belt afterwards, and then you do Ciryl Gane versus the winner of Almeida versus Blades, which is taking place in November. Because if he wins that one, then you can say, well, that whole of Gane's game is completely fixed. I don't think he proved it against Spivac, because if you know, you know. Spivac's grappling is just not that high level. But yeah, Ciryl Gane, Jailton Almeida, who I believe is going to beat Curtis Blades. And I think that leaves Curtis Blades for Sergey Spivac, who was the loser of the main event. He's going to need a little bit of time off, but we know that Sergey Spivac doesn't really take too much time off. I think we can expect to see him back in there by February, maybe late February, who knows, maybe even March next year. He did take some damage, but I don't see him taking longer than 6 months off here. So Curtis Blades, I think he might lose to Jailton Almeida because I think the time of morbidly obese heavyweights has come to an end. And I think Curtis Blades, if he does lose to Jailton Almeida, I don't think it's going to be an incredibly damaging loss. It seems to be that Jailton Almeida gets a finish in the first round by TKO after securing dominant position, or he gets a rear naked choke or something along those lines. It's not like he's going to flatline KO Curtis Blades on odds, you know what I'm saying? He might do, who knows, but I don't think he's going to. So I think Curtis Blades, Sergey Spivac, good bounce back fight for the pair of them, and that way you can get rid of another grappler in the heavyweight division, because we don't want them at heavyweight. Get rid of the grapplers. Hopefully Jailton Almeida loses in the future as well. Grapplers destroy the heavyweight division. But Ciryl Gane, Jailton Almeida, Spivac versus Blades. We move on to another fight on the card. Manon Fiorot won the co-main event now. She called for the title fight. The UFC might give her a title fight. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Even though her fight was against, on paper in terms of accomplishments, a better opponent, because it's Rose Namajunas, I think Taila Santos is better overall at flyweight. But I know Erin Blanchfield had a really boring fight with Taila Santos, and it wasn't a great performance. But out of the two of their performances, I was expecting Manon Fiorot to get a TKO here. And I'd say, oh, no matter what, she gets a title shot. She had a great performance. And she deserves to be ranked above Erin Blanchfield for that title shot. but she had such a close fight, and it wasn't impressive to me. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, regardless of the performance, now that they both didn't have the greatest of performances, regardless of how fun it was and who looked better in the fight, who do you think I'd have the better chance of becoming a champion out of the two of them? I still think it's Erin Blanchfield. So I think that Manon Fiorot's not going to get a title shot. I think they're going to give it to Erin Blanchfield. I think she would have the better chance against either Alexa Grasso or Valentina Shevchenko. Whereas if you put, let's say Shevchenko wins the rematch, I don't think she will. Maybe Manon would have a decent chance against Alexa Grasso, but she ain't beating Shevchenko. Whereas Blanchfield could beat both of them. You know what I'm saying? Just based on her style. So I think that's more interesting. Let's do Manon Fiorot versus Maycee Barber in the meantime. She's coming off a win right now in the women's flyweight division. She's highly ranked. I think she's number 8 in the world. Manon's number 3 in the world. So put them against each other. Manon Fiorot versus Maycee Barber. In the meantime, on a decent position on a card. Maybe on a weak pay-per-view card, they can take a main card spot. Maybe on a strong pay-per-view card, they can be the prelim headliner or the co-main event of the prelims. Something along those lines. Maybe they could even be a co-main event of a fight night with a crowd. Who knows? Let's just get these two to fight again. Even though they haven't fought before. Let's get another fight out of Manon Fiorot before we start talking about title shots. Because, yeah, if you're barely getting by Rose Namajunas, who broke her finger in the first round, you ain't beating Shevchenko. Whereas Erin Blanchfield, regardless of that performance against Taila Santos, she won the grappling against Taila Santos. She didn't do it well, but she did get the better of the grappling out of the two of them. So that tells me that she might be able to do that to the top girls in the women's flyweight division in Shevchenko and Grasso. So I think Manon needs one more. I think she lost her shot. It was way too close and competitive. And she gassed out in the third and just sort of backed up the whole round. So I was like, yeah, this ain't looking good. We need another fight from her. We move on. Rose Namajunas lost in the co-main event. Doesn't retire. I don't think she's going to retire from the sport. She's still young. But I think flyweight is not her division. So I think in order to get some hype here, I think we're going to need to do her versus Mackenzie Dern. Now, Mackenzie Dern is fighting Jessica Andrade in November. I'm not saying that I think she's going to win that one, but she does have a decent chance of winning. And if Jessica Andrade wins in November as well, there's unfinished business between her and Rose Namajunas. They've both won against each other once. The second fight was a competitive decision that Rose Namajunas got the better of, but she got beaten up in the third round. Of course, Andrade slammed her on her head in the first one. So I think this should be Rose Namajunas back at strawweight versus the winner of Mackenzie Dern versus Jessica Andrade. And hopefully it's Mackenzie Dern so we can get a fresh matchup. And I think Namajunas versus Dern is a decently hyped women's MMA fight in the strawweight division. And at the end of the day, even though she's not maybe got it anymore, she still has 2 wins over Zhang Weili. Whatever you say about the decision in the second fight, she still has 2 wins over Zhang Weili. So if she does get a solid win in the top 5 of the women's strawweight division, they're going to be more than likely to try and put her back into a title fight because she has 2 wins over the champ. So I think Rose Namajunas, Mackenzie Dern, if Dern gets past Andrade, or Andrade if Andrade gets past Dern. I just wanted to put the more interesting matchup out of the two of them on the screen. We move on. Benoit Saint-Denis got a huge win over Thiago Moises. Dominant performance. I'd expected him to outstrike him, but I didn't expect him to outgrapple him the way he did. So really, really impressive performance. I was expecting him to be ranked number 15 after this. We'll still find out if that's the case. So I was looking, who is number 15 in the lightweight rankings right now? And I see that it's Carlos Diego Ferreira. Now, I'm a fan of Carlos Diego Ferreira. I think he's one of the more underrated lightweights on the roster. Like, he gives Beneil Dariush a really tough fight. He gave Gamrot a tough fight before Gamrot kneed him in the ribs and broke his rib. But that was a pretty competitive fight beforehand. So I think Carlos Diego Ferreira's still got it. Like, he can still test these guys. And he's ranked. And I don't think he's going to get Frivola. I think Frivola's going to fight Paddy Pimblett. Pimblett said he's fighting soon on Instagram. And Frivola has the top comment saying an excited face pretty much. So I think they're fighting each other in November or December. Jalen Turner's fighting Renato Moicano according to Renato Moicano. I think Grant Dawson has earned a bit more, seeing as he's on a wicked win streak in that division right now. So maybe he'll get a higher ranked opponent. I reckon it's got to be Benoit Saint-Denis versus Carlos Diego Ferreira. Number 15 in the lightweight rankings. This gets Benoit Saint-Denis ranked if he wins. Also, they're probably going to be on a similar schedule. Carlos Diego Ferreira is not really an active fighter, but he did come off a big win in his last one, so I'm sure he might be looking to return. Who knows, maybe at the end of this year, maybe early next year. So I think early next year, Benoit Saint-Denis, Carlos Diego Ferreira, feature fight of an Apex fight night, or maybe a crowded fight night, opener of a main card. Who knows? put them on that against each other. Let's get Benoit Saint-Denis into the rankings, and then we'll start talking about those bigger names in the lightweight rankings moving forward. We move on. Volkan Oezdemir got a huge win over Guskov. Was expected though. Guskov wasn't proven at all, and Ozdemir's given some tough fights to some of the top dogs in the light heavyweight division, so really expected in my opinion. But that means that Volkan Oezdemir snapped his... He's basically, someone said on Instagram, it's the perfect way to put it, he beat his washed allegations. Any allegation that Oezdemir might have been washed up has kind of been removed here. And I don't think he ever was, because he still gave a great fight to Nikita Krylov in their last one. But Nikita Krylov's, I think, the dark horse of the light heavyweight division. Volkan Oezdemir. Khalil Roundtree. I think this is the move to make. Volkan Oezdemir, Khalil Roundtree. I was thinking, you know what? The Dominic Reyes fight was a split decision before. Really boring, really controversial decision. A lot of people think Oezdemir won. Some people think Reyes won. So I thought maybe they could run that back. But I think we're going to see Reyes in December. And I don't think we might see... Maybe we will see Oezdemir in December as well. But I don't want to see Reyes get a jump up the rankings. You know what I'm saying? I think Reyes should take on an unranked fighter moving forward in the light heavyweight division, rather than giving him another top 15 dude. Let's give him someone just outside the rankings. You know what I'm saying? Give him a little nice one for himself, rather than chucking him right back in there with the big dogs. I think Volkan Oezdemir, Khalil Roundtree. Roundtree just beat Dorcas last month. Oezdemir just took no damage off Guskov and finished him in the first round as well. Khalil got a first round finish. They fought 4 weeks apart. Put them against each other at the end of the year in December. No time off needed. Get them right back in there. Let's keep the activity going and have them fight maybe on the final card of the year, maybe on the prelims of the December pay-per-view. I think that would be a good spot for the pair of them to share. And I think Volkan Oezdemir is number 8 in the rankings, number 9, and Khalil's number 11. So it just makes sense ranking-wise. They're both coming off wins. Let's do that fight between them, I think. We move on. Morgan Charriere, the last pirate, gets a win against Zecchini, who they kind of brought in to lose to Morgan Charriere, which is why I'm going to match Morgan Charriere up a little bit carefully. But it's not that carefully. But I'm not going to give him like a big name next. I still think he needs a lot of time to develop. He was already proven not to be the best on the regional scene. It's one of the few things in MMA that, one of the many things in MMA that annoy me is that Charriere's 18-9. He's lost to so many opponents on the regional scene that are better than him, and they have all not been signed. Yet he has been signed just because he's from Paris, and they were in Paris. And it kind of annoys me, but he has got a big name, a huge name on Instagram, so that's another reason why they signed him. He just beat a good... other guy shouldn't have been in the UFC. I'm going to stop being salty. Here's the matchup I have for Morgan Charriere. If you know, you know, this is a sleeper matchup on a card. Like, this is one of those fights where it might be somewhere low on the main card of a fight night, maybe the headliner of the prelims of a fight night, but you'll see it and go, oh, that's a good one. Isaac Dulgarian just got a big win over Marshall in his debut, and he's really good. Isaac Dulgarian's really good. I think he's 6-0. Really underrated. He was the underdog in that fight against Marshall, I believe, and I picked him to win because of, it was incorrect odds. I think he should have been the favorite in that matchup. And Morgan Charriere, Isaac Dulgarian, I think it's a sick matchup because you don't want to put Morgan Charriere against some no-name schmuck veteran because, A, they might beat him, and then you don't have a star. Like, you want to at least know that if Morgan Charriere is going to be fighting someone, if he wins, he's going to get a ton of credit, because if he does beat Dulgarian, that's a big win for him, in my opinion. So I think he'll get credit for a win, and it will boost his star value. It's also a fight that would be somewhat hyped, in my opinion, for the hardcore fans. And if Isaac Dulgarian wins, you have another guy that you can promote as a star instead. So I think Morgan Charriere, Isaac Dulgarian, great matchup to make in the featherweight division. I think it should be next. Maybe at the end of the year. Both of them coming off easy wins. I doubt either of them wants too much time off. December pay-per-view, early prelim headliner, Morgan Charriere, Isaac Dulgarian. I think it's a great matchup. We move on. Willem Gomez got a win-ish on the main card. Kind of unfair against Gamori. Groin shot, TKO, literally. I don't know what it was, but put him against Sungwoo Choi. Yeah. Put him against Sungwoo Choi, I think would be good. I don't mind though. Whatever they want to do. But I just think he went to a third round. Obviously bruised up his feet and that. And Sungwoo Choi just went to a decision in his last fight as well. And he's probably going to need a little bit of time off as well. So I think they're just going to be on similar schedules. Sung Woo Choi fought at UFC Singapore last week. William Gomez fought yesterday. So match them up against each other. Whatever. Taylor Lapulus won against Cowlin Loughran. Decision win. Not too much hype behind it, but now he's got the French fan base behind him because of Cowlin Loughran's work in the build-up. Good job, Loughran. You made a star out of Lapulus. I'm sure you wanted to make a star out of yourself, but it didn't work out that way. Okay? So Taylor Lapulus has got a bit more of a French fan base behind him now, and I think he should be looking to take on, purely because they were on the same card, Farid Basharat. You know what I'm saying? Just do him versus Farid Basharat. January, fight night card, maybe February. I mean, Farid might be looking to get right back in there, who knows? And to be fair, Lapulus didn't take any damage against Loughran, really. I mean, Loughran took him down once and, like, held him against a cage a bit, but didn't really, like, rock him or wobble him or drop him or break a rib or, you know, hurt him in any way. He didn't chop up his leg in any way either. So I think that Lapulus versus Farid Basharat can be a quick turnaround fight, maybe on a fight night in December. Who knows? But I think that's a good matchup because they both fought on the same card. And they have relevancy to each other because of that. So, yeah. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. These are all the fights to make after UFC Paris Gane versus Spivac. And again, the main event, you've got to have an option for a vacant title fight after Jones is gone that doesn't involve the guy that Jones just dominated, right? That's my mindset on the whole thing. Almeida's going to be fighting in November. Who knows if he makes it easy work? He might do. But it's a risky one, you know what I'm saying? It is a risky one. But if he does dominate Blades, maybe they do just do Almeida Pavlovich, and then they do Blades versus Aspinall too. Who knows? But, or Gane Aspinall, sorry, next. Because, of course, Aspinall technically lost to Blades, even though it was a random fluke injury. But I just think Gane should not be involved in a title fight next, which is why I want to see Pavlovich versus Aspinall, and Gane get the winner of Blades versus Almeida. Because, yeah, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Because when these champions leave, like Ngannou left and Jones left, and that's going to be the situation. There's going to be these two guys gone, and no one took the belt off them. You know what I'm saying? It's going to leave a void. And you can't have a guy who lost to both of them. Even though I thought Gane won the first Ngannou fight, you can't have a guy who lost to both of them fighting for the belt immediately after they're gone. I don't know what privilege he thinks he has, but I've got to see a win streak out of him, in my opinion. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle Pip. See you later. Goodbye.